Welcome to AB-620, Full Practice Exam, Part 3. In this final advanced section, you'll practice Copilot Studio agent builder questions on computer use, agent flows, evaluation, Foundry prompts, fabric data agents, pipelines, connectors, multi-agent delegation, and production governance. I will read each question and the answer choices. After the choices, you will hear "lock in your answer." Then the video will pause for a silent 3-second countdown. Pause if you need more thinking time. After the countdown, I will reveal the correct answer, give a short explanation, and share the exam clue to remember. Question 1. A company wants a Copilot Studio agent to update records in a legacy internal web app. The app has no API, no connector, and no supported database access. What should you add to the agent? A. A custom connector that calls the legacy app directly. B. A computer use tool with scoped instructions for the UI task. C. A generative answers node grounded on the app's help documentation. D. An MCP tool that assumes the web app exposes callable operations. Lock in your answer. Correct answer? B. A computer use tool with scoped instructions for the UI task. Computer use lets an agent interact with websites or desktop apps by using the UI when no direct API or connector is available. Exam clue: no API or connector, but a person can complete it in the UI. Consider computer use. Question 2. You are preparing a Copilot Studio agent to use computer use in production. The tool will interact with an internal web app that contains customer data. Which two controls should you configure or verify? Choose two. A. Configure computer use to run in the same unrestricted browser profile makers used during testing. B. Use a single service account connection for all computer use runs. C. Select an appropriate machine or browser environment for the task. D. Replace the computer use tool with a generative answers node. E. Ensure activity logs are available for review and troubleshooting. Lock in your answer. Correct answers: C. E. C. Select an appropriate machine or browser environment for the task. E. Ensure activity logs are available for review and troubleshooting. Computer use needs a configured run environment, and production use should leave reviewable activity evidence such as logs, transcript steps, and screenshots. Exam clue: computer use in production means choose where it runs and how its actions can be reviewed. Question 3. A computer use tool sometimes fails while entering data into an internal web app. You need to determine which UI step is failing. What should you review first? A. The topic trigger phrases that started the conversation. B. The generative answers source list for the agent. C. The Power Platform solution import history. D. The computer use run activity, including step logs and screenshots. Lock in your answer. Correct answer: D. The computer use run activity, including step logs and screenshots. Computer use activity shows how the tool followed its instructions, including step-by-step actions, reasoning messages, and screenshots. Exam clue: computer use failure inside the UI. Inspect computer use activity, logs, and screenshots. Question 4. Match each integration requirement to the best Copilot Studio approach. Requirements. 1. The agent must complete a task in a web app that has no API. 2. The organization already has a governed connector for the required business action. 3. The agent needs to call a documented HTTP endpoint with defined request and response fields. 4. The agent must use tools exposed from a server that follows a standard tool protocol. A. Add the existing connector as a tool. B. Add a RESTAPI or custom connector tool. C. Add a computer use tool. D. Add an MCP server/tool. Lock in your answer. Correct matches: 1. C. Add a computer use tool. 2. A. Add the existing connector as a tool. 3. B. Add a REST API or custom connector tool. 4. D. Add an MCP server/tool. Each approach fits the available integration surface. UI-only work uses computer use. Governed connector work uses the existing connector. HTTP endpoints use REST/custom connectors. And protocol exposed tools use MCP. Exam clue. Pick the integration pattern from the system's available surface. UI, connector, HTTP API, or MCP server. Question 5. An agent must collect an order number, check fulfillment status, and return the result during the same conversation. What should you create? A. An agent flow with input parameters and a response to the agent. B. A generative answers node grounded on fulfillment policy documents. C. A topic that tells the user how to check the order manually. D. A custom prompt that summarizes the user's order question. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, A. An agent flow with input parameters and a response to the agent. An agent flow can run a deterministic sequence of actions, accept input values from the agent, and return output values to the conversation. Exam clue. Collected values plus repeatable business action plus returned result means agent flow/tool pattern. Question 6. An agent reviews purchase requests. If a request is missing justification, the process must pause and collect the missing details from a reviewer before continuing. What should you add? A. A generative answers node that explains the approval policy. B. A topic branch that ends the conversation when details are missing. C. A request for information action in an agent flow. D. A computer use tool that enters the request into the purchasing site. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, C. A request for information action in an agent flow. The request for information action lets an agent flow pause, collect required input from a human reviewer, and use that input in later steps. Exam clue. If the process must pause for missing human input, look for request for information in an agent flow. Question 7. A topic collects an account number and calls an agent flow to check account status. The result must be available later in the conversation. Which two configurations are required? Choose two. A. Store the account number only in the conversation transcript. B. Pass the account number as an input parameter to the flow. C. Add the account status as a trigger phrase for the topic. D. Return the status as an output parameter from the flow. E. Replace the flow with a generative answers node. F. Save the value only in the flow run history. Lock in your answer. Correct answers? B, D. B, pass the account number as an input parameter to the flow. D, return the status as an output parameter from the flow. The agent must pass collected values into the flow and receive explicit output values back, so later conversation steps can use the result. Exam clue. If a flow needs conversation data and the agent needs the result later, configure input and output parameters. Question 8. An agent flow submits a service request after the user confirms the details. If the backend system returns an error, the agent must avoid telling the user the request succeeded. What should you design? A. A fallback topic that restarts the conversation from the beginning. B. A generative answer that explains common backend errors. C. A topic trigger that detects the word error in future messages. D. An error path that returns a failure message and logs the failed action. Locking your answer. Correct answer, D. An error path that returns a failure message and logs the failed action. Agent flows should include an error handling pattern, so the agent can respond safely when an action fails, and support troubleshooting. Exam clue. When an action can fail, Design the flow response for both success and failure. Question 9. A team changed an agent's instructions and knowledge sources. Before release, they need repeatable validation against expected user questions. What should they create? A. A production conversation transcript export. B. A test set with representative prompts and expected outcomes. C. A list of topic trigger phrases from the previous version. D. A manual checklist for OneMaker to run in the test chat. Lock in your answer.
Correct answer,
B. A test set with representative prompts and expected outcomes. Copilot Studio evaluations use test sets to run repeatable test cases, measure responses, and compare quality across changes before release. Exam clue. Repeatable validation before release means create and run a test set. Question 10. You need to evaluate two agent behaviors, whether policy answers are grounded and complete, and whether the agent selects the correct tool for account status lookups. Which approach should you use? A. Use only text match tests for both behaviors. B. Use only production conversation transcripts after release. C. Use quality evaluation for the policy answers and tool use evaluation for the lookup scenarios. D. Use trigger phrase coverage for the policy answers and similarity testing for tool calls. Lock in your answer. Correct answer? C. Use quality evaluation for the policy answers and tool use evaluation for the lookup scenarios. Quality evaluation is suited to response quality, such as relevance, groundedness, and completeness. Tool use evaluation is suited to verifying that the agent calls the correct tool for action-oriented scenarios. Exam clue. Match the evaluator to the behavior. Answer quality for grounded responses, tool use for tool selection. Question 11. You need to validate an agent before promoting it to production. Put the steps in the correct order. A. Review failed test cases and identify what needs to be fixed. B. Define the user scenarios and expected outcomes. C. Update the agent, then rerun the evaluation to check for regressions. D. Create a test set from the scenarios. E. Run the test set against the agent. Lock in your answer. Correct order. Step 1. B. Define the user scenarios and expected outcomes. Step 2. D. Create a test set from the scenarios. Step 3. E. Run the test set against the agent. Step 4. A. Review failed test cases and identify what needs to be fixed. Step 5. C. Update the agent, then rerun the evaluation to check for regressions. A repeatable evaluation loop starts with representative scenarios and expected outcomes, turns them into a test set, runs the test set, reviews failures, then updates and reruns to verify improvement and catch regressions. Exam clue. Evaluation loop. Define, create test set, run, review failures, repair, and rerun. Question 12. An evaluation run shows an overall pass rate of 88%. One failed test case shows that the agent gave an unsafe answer that was not supported by its knowledge sources. Proposed solution. Approve the release because the aggregate pass rate is above the team's target. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, B, no. Aggregate pass rate is only a high-level signal. A failed case involving unsafe or ungrounded output must be reviewed and remediated before release, even if the overall score looks acceptable. Exam clue. Do not release based only on the overall pass rate when a failed case indicates safety or grounding risk. Question 13. An agent must generate a tightly formatted JSON summary from a user's uploaded document. The team needs control over prompt instructions and wants to use a model deployed from Microsoft Foundry. What should they add? A. A custom prompt tool that uses the selected Foundry model. B. A static topic message with example JSON. C. A topic trigger phrase for summarized document. D. A generative answers node with no prompt constraints. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, A. A custom prompt tool that uses the selected Foundry model. Artificial intelligence prompts let makers control instructions, formatting, constraints, and model selection. Copilot Studio can use models deployed through Microsoft Foundry for prompt-based generation tasks. Exam clue: specialized generation plus strict format plus selected Foundry model means custom prompt tool. Question 14. Match each requirement to the best Copilot Studio response pattern. Requirements. 1. Follow a fixed troubleshooting path with authored messages and branches. 2. Answer policy questions by summarizing retrieved content with citations. 3. Generate a highly structured response using selected model settings and prompt instructions. 4. Ground answers in non-Microsoft Enterprise content indexed through Microsoft Graph. A. Add an enterprise knowledge source through a Copilot connector. B. Use a deterministic topic. C. Use a custom prompt tool. D. Use a generative answers node. Lock in your answer. Correct matches. 1. B. Use a deterministic topic. 2. D. Use a generative answers node. 3. C. Use a custom prompt tool. 4. A. Add an enterprise knowledge source through a Copilot connector. A deterministic topic is best for fixed authored flows. Generative answers summarize retrieved knowledge and can include citations. A custom prompt tool gives control over instructions, formatting, and model selection. Copilot connectors let enterprise content be added as governed knowledge sources. Exam clue: separate the pattern by purpose. Fixed path, grounded answer, structured prompt, or enterprise connector knowledge. Question 15. A team wants to use a Microsoft Foundry model in a custom prompt for an enterprise agent. Which 2 governance checks should they perform before enabling it? Choose 2. A. Confirm that every topic trigger phrase includes the model name. B. Configure only prompt instructions and skip model/data policy review because the model is Microsoft hosted. C. Review data policy and connector governance for the Foundry model connection. D. Use the same prompt in production after one successful maker test without creating scenario-specific evaluation cases. E. Review only connector availability and defer telemetry/audit configuration until after launch. F. Validate model suitability and responsible artificial intelligence controls for the scenario. Lock in your answer. Correct answers: C, F. C. Review data policy and connector governance for the Foundry model connection. F. Validate model suitability and responsible artificial intelligence controls for the scenario. Foundry models used in Copilot Studio prompts are governed through connectors and Power Platform data policies. Teams should also validate that the selected model is suitable for the task and that responsible artificial intelligence controls and testing are appropriate for the scenario. Exam clue: Foundry model in enterprise prompt means check data policy/connector governance and model/artificial intelligence suitability. Question 16. Users need to ask natural language questions about governed sales data in OneLake and Power BI semantic models. The agent should return analytic answers, not update records. What should you integrate? A. ARESTAPI, action that writes sales updates to the CRM. B. An Azure Artificial Intelligence search knowledge source over sales policy documents. C. A computer use tool that opens the sales dashboard UID. A Fabric data agent connected to the Copilot Studio agent. Lock in your answer.
Correct answer.
D. A Fabric data agent connected to the Copilot Studio agent. A Fabric data agent provides conversational analytics over governed Fabric data sources, such as OneLake items, warehouses, lakehouses, and Power BI semantic models. It is focused on read-only natural language data insights. Exam clue. Natural language analytics over governed Fabric data means Fabric data agent. Question 17. Match each requirement to the best integration approach. Requirements. 1. Let users ask analytic questions over governed data in OneLake and semantic models. 2. Ground answers in index documents so the agent can summarize relevant content. 3. Call a documented HTTP endpoint to create or update a record in another system. 4. Delegate a task to an external agent that supports a standard agent-to-agent protocol. A. Add a REST API action. B. Connect an A to A agent. C. Add an Azure Artificial Intelligence Search knowledge source. D. Integrate a Fabric data agent. Lock in your answer. Correct matches. 1. D. Integrate a Fabric data agent. 2. C. Add an Azure Artificial Intelligence Search knowledge source. 3. A. Add a REST API action. 4. B. Connect an A to A agent. Fabric data agents support conversational analytics over governed Fabric data. Azure Artificial Intelligence Search grounding is used for indexed document retrieval and summarized answers. REST API actions are appropriate for documented HTTP operations, such as creating or updating records. A to A is used when Copilot Studio delegates work to another agent that implements the agent-to-agent protocol. Exam clue. Pick by integration target. Fabric analytics, index knowledge, HTTP action, or external agent delegation. Question 18. A Copilot Studio agent handles employee support requests. When users ask analytics questions about governed Fabric data, the main agent should route those questions to a published Fabric data agent. What should you configure? A. Replace the main agent with the Fabric data agent. B. Add the Fabric data agent as a connected agent and enable orchestration to invoke it. C. Add a static topic that tells users to open the Power BI report manually. D. Add a REST API action that exports all semantic model data to the chat. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, B. Add the Fabric data agent as a connected agent and enable orchestration to invoke it. Copilot Studio can connect to a Fabric data agent as an external/connected agent. With orchestration and clear agent metadata, the main agent can invoke the Fabric data agent for analytics questions, while continuing to own the broader employee support conversation. Exam clue. Main agent plus specialist analytics agent means connected Fabric data agent invoked by orchestration. Question 19. A team develops a Copilot Studio agent in a development environment. They need a repeatable, governed way to promote the same solution artifact to test and then production. What should they use? A. Export the solution from development and import it manually into each target environment when changes are ready. B. Use separate unmanaged solutions in test and production and document the differences. C. Pipelines in Power Platform. D. Create a copy of the agent in production and update it after each development sprint. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, C. Pipelines in Power Platform. Pipelines in Power Platform support governed ALM by promoting solutions through deployment stages, such as development, test, and production. Copilot Studio agents can be managed in solutions and deployed across environments as part of the Power Platform ALM process. Exam clue. Same solution artifact plus dev test prod promotion means Power Platform pipelines. Question 20. A solution that contains a Copilot Studio agent is being deployed to production by using pipelines in Power Platform. The deployment must use production endpoints and valid production connections. Which two items should be configured for the target environment? Choose two. A. New topic trigger phrases for every production user group. B. Environment variable values for production-specific settings. C. Deployment stage approval comments that describe the production endpoint values. D. A separate production solution layer where makers manually update connection details after deployment. E. Connection references that point to valid production connections and permissions. F. A deployment note that lists the development environment's connection names for reference. Lock in your answer. Correct answers: B, E. B. Environment variable values for production-specific settings. E. Connection references that point to valid production connections and permissions. Pipelines validate solution deployments against the target environment. Environment variables provide environment-specific values, such as endpoints or configuration settings. Connection references ensure the deployed solution uses valid connections in the target environment. Exam clue: target environment deployment configuration means environment variables plus connection references. Question 21. A pipeline deployment of a Copilot Studio agent solution to the test environment fails during validation. The error indicates that target environment configuration is missing. Place the actions in the correct order. A. Rerun the pipeline deployment. B. Review the pipeline validation error to identify the missing configuration. C. Provide the required environment variable values and connection references for the test environment. D. Confirm that the solution artifact and target stage are correct. Lock in your answer. Correct order. Step 1. D. Confirm that the solution artifact and target stage are correct. Step 2. B. Review the pipeline validation error to identify the missing configuration. Step 3. C. Provide the required environment variable values and connection references for the test environment. Step 4. A. Rerun the pipeline deployment. First, confirm that the deployment is using the intended solution artifact and target stage. Then, review the pipeline validation or pre-flight error to identify what is missing. Next, provide the required target environment configuration, such as environment variable values and connection references. Finally, rerun the pipeline after the configuration issue is corrected. Exam clue: pipeline validation failure means confirmed target. Read validation error, fix target config, rerun. Question 22. Match each requirement to the best integration option. Requirements. 1. Ground answers in a large external knowledge base that should be indexed into Microsoft Graph and reused across Microsoft 365 experiences. 2. Retrieve live data or perform transactions against a SaaS system by using a governed pre-built connector. 3. Reuse an existing organization-defined connector that already contains the OpenAPI definition and authentication for a custom business API. 4. Add a one-off action by defining an HTTP operation directly from the API documentation. A. Add a REST API action. B. Use an existing custom connector. C. Add a Copilot connector knowledge source. D. Use a Power Platform connector. Lock in your answer. Correct matches: 1. C. Add a Copilot connector knowledge source. 2. D. Use a Power Platform connector. 3. B. Use an existing custom connector. 4. A. Add a REST API action. Copilot connectors index external content into Microsoft Graph for semantic grounding and reuse across Microsoft 365. Power Platform connectors provide live API access for retrieving data or performing actions against connected systems. Existing custom connectors should be reused when the organization already defined the API operations and authentication. Arst API action is appropriate when you need to add a direct HTTP operation from API documentation. Exam clue. Index broad knowledge means Copilot connector. Live connector action means Power Platform connector. Reusable custom API wrapper means custom connector. One-off HTTP operation means REST API action. Question 23. A company already has a governed custom connector for its inventory API. The connector includes the approved OpenAPI definition, authentication settings, and actions for checking stock and updating reservations. You need to let a Copilot Studio agent reserve inventory by using this API. The solution should reuse the approved authentication and avoid duplicating API definitions. What should you do? A. Add the existing custom connector as a tool/action for the agent. B. Create a new direct RES tape action from the API documentation. C. Create a new custom connector from the same OpenAPI definition so the agent has its own copy. D. Add the API as a real-time knowledge source to retrieve inventory information. Then use a separate topic for reservation confirmation. Lock in your answer. Correct answer. A. Add the existing custom connector as a tool/action for the agent. A custom connector is a reusable wrapper around an API. If the organization already has a governed connector with the required OpenAPI definition, authentication, and actions, the agent should reuse it rather than duplicating the API definition in a new REST action. Exam clue. If the connector already defines the API and auth, reuse the custom connector instead of rebuilding the erst action. Question 24. A Copilot Studio agent uses a connector action to update records in a line of business system. The action must run with the signed-in user's access and remain auditable as that user. Which two configuration decisions should you make? Choose two. A. Use maker-provided credentials for the connector and restrict the agent to an authenticated channel. B. Configure a service account connection and rely on the target system to store the requester in a submitted field. C. Grant admin consent for delegated scopes, but leave the connector action using a shared connection. D. Require user authentication or on behalf of authentication for the connector action. E. Grant a broader delegated scope that includes the update operation across all record types. F. Ensure the connector and target system use least privilege permissions that allow only the required update operation. Lock in your answer. Correct answers D, F. D. Require user authentication or on behalf of authentication for the connector action. F. Ensure the connector and target system use least privilege permissions that allow only the required update operation. User authentication or on behalf of authentication lets the action run under the signed-in user's identity, supporting user-specific access and auditability. Least privilege permissions reduce risk by limiting the connector and target system to the specific operation the agent needs. Exam clue. Act on behalf of the user plus auditable as that user means user OBO authentication plus least privilege. Question 25. A company has thousands of enterprise policy documents stored outside Dataverse. Developers have already built an Azure Artificial Intelligence search index over the content. Users need a Copilot Studio agent to answer policy questions by grounding responses in the indexed content. What should you configure? A. A Copilot connector that reindexes the policy documents into Microsoft Graph. B. Azure Artificial Intelligence Search as a knowledge source for generative answers. C. A custom prompt that uses a Foundry model catalog model and includes policy answering instructions. D. A Power Platform connector as a real-time knowledge source to query the document repository directly. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, B. Azure Artificial Intelligence Search as a knowledge source for generative answers. Exam clue. Question 26. A company wants a Copilot Studio agent to answer questions from enterprise knowledge stored in non-Microsoft systems. Users must only receive answers from content they're authorized to view, and the solution should respect source-level permissions. What should you configure? A. Add the external system through a Power Platform connector as a real-time knowledge source and use maker-provided credentials. B. Add an Azure Artificial Intelligence search index as the knowledge source and include citation URLs that point back to the original secured documents. C. Add a Copilot connector knowledge source that indexes the content into Microsoft Graph with source-level permissions. D. Export the documents into Dataverse Knowledge and restrict access to the Copilot Studio environment. Lock in your answer. Correct answer, C. Add a Copilot connector knowledge source that indexes the content into Microsoft Graph with source-level permissions. Exam clue. Question 27. You are preparing to publish an external-facing Copilot Studio agent that answers customer questions and can start service requests. The agent uses generative answers and connector actions. Which 3 controls should you validate before launch? Choose 3. A. Confirm the agent's data sources, connector actions, and DLP policies align with the intended data boundary. B. Use a maker-provided connection for service request creation and record the requester in a request field. C. Define the agent's scope, responsible artificial intelligence mitigations, and escalation path for unsupported or high-risk requests. D. Review launch telemetry only during the pilot period, then rely on customer feedback tickets for production issues. E. Test the agent in a non-production environment with representative prompts, edge cases, and connector failure scenarios. F. Allow the approved connector category for the environment, but do not review the specific actions the agent can invoke. Lock in your answer. Correct answers: A, C, E. A. Confirm the agent's data sources, connector actions, and DLP policies align with the intended data boundary. C. Define the agent's scope, responsible artificial intelligence mitigations, and escalation path for unsupported or high-risk requests. E. Test the agent in a non-production environment with representative prompts, edge cases, and connector failure scenarios. Before launching an external-facing agent, you should validate the data boundary and connector governance, document scope and responsible artificial intelligence mitigations, provide escalation/fallback behavior, and test in a controlled environment with realistic prompts and failure cases. Exam clue. External-facing launch readiness means data boundary plus responsible artificial intelligence/escalation plus pre-launch testing. Question 28. You are designing a Copilot Studio agent for HR and finance users. The agent will use connector actions to read employee records, create finance requests, and query an external ticketing system. Administrators want to reduce the risk of organizational data being shared with unapproved services, while still allowing the approved business connectors. Which 2 actions should you take before publishing the agent? Choose 2. A. Build the agent in a shared departmental development environment and restrict publishing until the HR/finance owners approve. B. Place the agent in a governed environment with appropriate maker/admin roles and lifecycle controls. C. Put the HR, finance, and ticketing connectors in the same business data group without separately reviewing non-business connector interaction. D. Rely on managed environment maker restrictions and defer DLP policy changes until the first production deployment. E. Use a data policy to classify approved business connectors, non-business connectors, and blocked connectors for the environment. F. Add system instructions that prohibit disclosure of sensitive data and use existing environment policies unchanged. Lock in your answer. Correct answers: B, E. B. Place the agent in a governed environment with appropriate maker admin roles and lifecycle controls. E. Use a data policy to classify approved business connectors, non-business connectors, and blocked connectors for the environment. A governed environment limits who can build, modify, and administer the agent and supports controlled lifecycle management. Data policies/DLP govern which connectors the agent can use and how business and non-business data can interact, reducing the risk of data exfiltration to unapproved services. Exam clue: sensitive department agent plus external tools means governed environment plus DLP/data policy connector classification. Question 29. You are extending a Copilot Studio agent so it can delegate work to multiple external capabilities, including an approved MCP server, a connected specialist agent, and an A2A agent hosted outside Copilot Studio. Which 3 checks should you perform before allowing production delegation? Choose 3. A. Verify the identity, trust, approval, and permission model for each external tool or agent. B. Approve the MCP server registration and expose all declared tools initially, then remove unused tools after observing production traffic. C. Define delegation descriptions for each capability, and use the test canvas only for a single successful happy path. D. Confirm the delegated capability contract, including supported tasks, required inputs, expected outputs, and boundaries. E. Capture only aggregate invocation counts for delegated calls, and omit per-tool failure details from monitoring. F. Test failure behavior, observability, and escalation when a delegated tool or agent is unavailable, returns low-confidence output, or exceeds its boundary. Lock in your answer. Correct answers: A, D, F. A. Verify the identity, trust, approval, and permission model for each external tool or agent. D. Confirm the delegated capability contract, including supported tasks, required inputs, expected outputs, and boundaries. F. Test failure behavior, observability, and escalation when a delegated tool or agent is unavailable, returns low confidence output, or exceeds its boundary. Before production delegation, you need to validate that each external tool or agent is trusted and approved, that permissions and identity are appropriate, that the delegated contract is clear, and that runtime failures are observable and recoverable through fallback or escalation. Exam clue: multi-agent/tool delegation readiness means trust/permissions plus capability contract plus observable failure handling. Question 30. You are preparing a production release for a Copilot Studio agent. The agent will answer questions from permission-sensitive enterprise knowledge, delegate analytics questions to a Fabric data agent, invoke an external system action through a connector, be promoted from development to production through managed environments. Which 3 steps should be part of the release plan? Choose 3. A. Run only a small set of generic conversation tests and rely on a system prompt to avoid unsupported answers. B. Create and run representative test sets for knowledge answers, Fabric analytics delegation, and connector action paths before release. C. Use a service account connection for the connector action and write the requester's user ID into the external system record. D. Promote the agent through a controlled pipeline or ALM process with target environment configuration reviewed. E. Monitor post-release usage, quality signals, connector delegation failures, and governance policy issues. F. Review Fabric data agent diagnostics during pre-production testing, and switch to aggregate Copilot Studio analytics after release. Lock in your answer. Correct answers: B, D, E. B. Create and run representative test sets for knowledge answers, Fabric analytics delegation, and connector action paths before release. D. Promote the agent through a controlled pipeline or ALM process with target environment configuration reviewed. E. Monitor post-release usage, quality signals, connector/delegation failures, and governance policy issues. A production plan should validate the agent with representative tests, promote the same solution through a controlled ALM or pipeline process, and monitor runtime quality, failures, and governance issues after release. This is especially important when the agent combines enterprise knowledge, fabric data agent delegation, and external connector actions. Exam clue. Production capstone means evaluate before release, plus controlled pipeline deployment, plus monitor after release.